everyone, and welcome to Molehill Mountain, episode 209. Andrew Eisen here to complain again about Ubisoft. A horrible company run by monstrous people who have for years knowingly harbored and protected sexual predators and abusers. Now, does that make the pretty good games they produce worthwhile? Not by my estimation. I don't think that's a necessary component of good games. Hey, Lyrically C, I haven't seen you in a while. How you doing? I would like to not talk about Ubisoft, and this is my show, so I could totally do that, but I'm going to talk about it again because it just keeps doing terrible things week after week. Just, uh. So, I would like to roll back to a couple of weeks ago. For some reason I was thinking of the Jojo Rabbit review haiku I did a year ago when I saw that movie. I'm like, well, there's a callback, but no, the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I wish I had enjoyed the show more, but I was very impressed that genuine fans of the show hit up my comment section and took the time to elaborate on what they like about the show. And so far, I've had no one drop in there saying, "Oh, you're a terrible person," or "You're stupid," or "You're somehow, um, judging the entire series by one episode, even though you explicitly stated with a couple f-bombs that that's not what you're doing." So yeah, I'm very happy with how that video was received. I actually just did a debut review for Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous. I haven't watched the debut. I haven't taken it off my camera to edit it yet, but I feel like I might have been a little mean. I mean, the show's bad, but I will say that it's fascinatingly bad because I ended up binging the entire thing, staying up till 2 a.m. to watch all of it, because it's bad, but I was just so fascinated with everything that the show did that I felt was really wrong-headed that I ended up watching the whole thing. So I need to review the footage and see if I was unnecessarily mean when I was walking around before you sat down and had me laughing. Yeah, I felt I mean, that part obviously is staged because I had to turn on the camera and then go walk around, but I felt it was kind of reflective of my feelings because I was kind of doing that as soon as when the show ended, I was like, God, what, man. I'll tell you, I'm genuinely lucky in that I rarely get crap from people. But if I get crap from people, it's usually when I don't like an anime. That seems to bring out the worst in audiences is when I don't like an anime. um, yeah, for Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous, it's bad. Arguably worth a watch, but it's bad. Um, so Ubisoft, remember? So it became widely known back in June-ish that Ubisoft has been knowingly for years harboring and protecting sexual predators and abusers. In early July, Ubisoft had its first online, in lieu of E3, presentation of video games called Ubisoft Forward. It decided not to include any type of acknowledgement of the reporting that showed that it had been, harboring and protecting abusers. it lied about that decision by saying like, it's a digital presentation, so it's edited, and we just didn't have time. That was a lie. They had plenty of time. But they did a second one in September, which gave them 2 months to work on what they were going to say and edit it in, and they once again chose not to. They did have the CEO, whose name I do not know how to pronounce correctly, record a 4-minute non-apology, being hopelessly vague about what he was not apologizing for, and did post that to Twitter and did post that to the YouTube channel. What I missed was they actually did release another statement to Twitter, which says, responding to people who were saying this should have been part of the Ubi Forward event. Ubisoft said, "We hear you. Due to timing constraints, we chose to release the video as a standalone message before our Ubi Forward event, but we are working to ensure it will be available in full in the VOD versions of the show." I don't know if that last bit is true. I didn't check. I don't really care. But the whole thing about due to timing constraints is a bald-faced lie, which is not surprising because Ubisoft lies all the time about big things and about little things that don't make any sense to lie about. Like, here's a gameplay trailer, and there's no gameplay in it. It's like, well, why did you lie about that? That's dumb. That What possible advantage could lying about that have given you? That I don't see an upside to that. But yeah, there were no timing constraints, Ubisoft. It was your show on your platform. It's not like, your presentation during the upcoming Game Awards in December. Like they give you a certain amount of time and it's like, we just couldn't fit it in. Yeah, no. This was your show on your platform. You give as much time as you want. The show itself was 45 minutes. It was followed by a post show that was at least half an hour long. It was preceded by like 2 hours of pre-show. You liars who lie. Anyway, so what's new with Ubi this week? Lyrically, yeah, Yves Guillermo, something close. I mean, he's a terrible person, and he should not be the CEO. He should resign, because he's either hopelessly corrupt or phenomenally incompetent. Either way, he should resign. But I feel it's still rude to mispronounce his name. I've looked it up several times in the past when I've talked about him, and I keep forgetting how to pronounce it because I'm terrible with French. So I just kind of try to avoid his name because, I mean, the guy's a scumsicle, but at least I could pronounce his name right, but I don't care enough to look it up. So, um, so this week, out of nowhere, although to be fair, usually retirements such as these are not expected. A creator or person whose work you're familiar with will suddenly one day say, "Hey, I'm moving on to other things. Bye." This week it was Michel Ancel, who many of you might know as the uh, head creator dude on Rayman and the much beloved Beyond Good and Evil. Beyond Good and Evil, also one of my favorite games of all time. And going on an aside that's not really part of the story here, just kind of a personal thing that maybe you're interested in, maybe you're not. Um, Lyrically says at this point, I've given up on him, will never get a sincere apology. I agree with that because I don't believe he's sorry. Um, so, but yeah, I don't have any faith in him to ever do the right thing. And it's kind of sad because I used to think that he was, because my impression of him, think back to a couple E3s ago where he and Miyamoto were on stage with the little prop guns from Mario plus Rabbids, and they're standing back to back posing with the guns, and the creator of the game is in the audience crying. I'm like, "Aw, this is so cute." This guy puts his rapey, abusive friends in charge of other people and then protects them when the people under them get hurt. Not so cute. So, Michel Ancel is retiring. Oh, Beyond Good and Evil. Great game. Underrated. Or, not underrated. I think everyone who's played it really likes it. Most people. But one of the little played games. One of those games that, oh man, if only more people had been exposed to this, I think it would have been bigger. But it came out around the same time as Splinter Cell and Prince of Persia Sands of Time, so kind of got buried. Unfortunate. 2008, we saw pre-rendered trailers saying, hey, Beyond Good and Evil 2, and we all went, ah, yay! Well, here we are 12 years later, and they're still making that game. You know, game development's hard. It takes time. Uh, I have since given up on Beyond Good and Evil 2. I don't care anymore. It's not so much the amount of time, it's when they finally showed off what the game appears to want to be, it's just not interesting to me. Every new thing I learn about the game just does not interest me, so I've kind of long since stopped caring about Beyond Good and Evil 2, and that's makes me kind of sad, because I like liking things. Might be hard to believe if you watch my debut reviews and stuff, but honestly, I really like liking things, and I'm always bummed out when I don't like things. But back to Michel Ancel. He posted on Instagram or something like that, one of the social media platforms. Says, hey, I am leaving video games and I'm starting the next chapter of my life, wildlife. Oh, well, okay. My first thought, and is it fair? No. Is it understandable? Probably. Is it sad? I think so. But honestly, my first thought was he got caught doing something bad, didn't he? The guy who made Rayman and Beyond Good and Evil, he's another one of them. Another one of the upper management Ubisoft people who's abusive to those who work for him. That's what it is, isn't it? Please don't be that. Just maybe Michel Ancel was like, you know what? Screw this company. I'm gonna go play with birds. You know, maybe, but I had the sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach going, there's a fly in here. I hate flies. I have a moth in here somewhere, but it's pretty chill and I don't mind it. But flies, I will kill you. Spiders, I will scoop up and put outside. I've even scooped up cockroaches and put them outside. Flies, I will kill you dead as soon as I catch you. Damn flies. There is a paper I missed, mainly because I couldn't use a lot of force because the fly landed on my monitor and I don't want to put my fist through it. It would probably cut my knuckles and it would break my monitor. Land right here, son of a... what was I saying? There is a newspaper in France. It's in French. I don't understand French, so I couldn't read it. So I'm relying on translations of its reporting. This French paper reported that in July, Michel Ancel was under an investigation conducted internally by Ubisoft for being an abusive prick to those who work for him. It has also been reported that Yves Guillemot, the CEO of Ubisoft, probably not pronouncing that quite correctly, was trying very hard to protect him, saying, no, he's our Beyond Good and Evil guy. He can't go anywhere. It has also been reported that on the morning of September 18th, the investigation brought Michel Ancel in and asked him some questions about this whole being an abusive prick to the people who work for him thing. Now that's a notable date, if true, because later that day, Michel Ancel posted on Instagram that he was leaving video games and going birdwatching for the rest of his life, and Ubisoft put out a statement saying Michel Ancel no longer worked for the company. We wish him the best, huzzah. So yeah, sounds like he left because he got caught. And apparently it was so bad that even Yves Guillemot could not protect him. And he had to leave. That's what it looks like. And considering Ubisoft's history, that's believable. Now, I'm not there. And I'm relying on translations of a newspaper I can't read. For his part, Michel Ancel said, fake news. Yeah. He posted about it and called it fake news. That's a red flag. That's one of those phrases that, generally speaking, anyone who is unironically using the phrase fake news, probably not someone to take at their word. But anyway, he goes on to say, take few people with rage and keep in mind that English is not his first language, so we'll forgive the awkward wording here. Take few people with rage and jealousy and let them speak in the name of hundreds. Publish the news fact so that it combines with sexual harassment from other news at Ubisoft. I this serious? Is this what you expect from a national newspaper? I will fight for the truth because such accusations are a shame. I worked hard on every one of my projects and always had respect for the teams. The accusations are wrong. Sorry, I gotta scroll. Toxic management. I am not managing the team. I bring a vision and producers and managers decide what to do, when and how. They are powerful people in the making of such big projects. Why don't the journalists speak about them? If I may, I'm going to interject here. According to the translation, some of the reporting is they brought in extra managers as a buffer between the employees and Michel Ancel just to limit the number of people who interacted with them. Number 2, says Michel. I always change my mind. False. Example, I've spent years explaining why the city should not be redone from scratch, hours explaining that characters were good enough and did not need to be redone, same for the planets and all, but sometimes some people in the teams changed things despite my advices. Managers are here to solve this. This is in reference to reporting that he kept, things with the scope of the game kept changing. Seems to be the least important part of it. I don't know if I'd even bother bringing that up, but number 3, the 2017 demo was fake and was a video. False. The 2017 demo was solid and made possible in the 2018 demo. As opposed to what is in the news, the 2018 demo had the right details, was using real streaming procedural generation. None of that has anything to do with the actual relevant allegations, so I'm going to stop reading there. So that's Michel Ancel's piece. I don't believe you. I'm just some goofball sitting in his room streaming on the internet. I don't work for Ubisoft. I don't know anyone who works for Ubisoft. I wasn't there. I'm not part of the investigation. I'm not privy to anything that hasn't already been reported. I don't believe you. That's not the only Ubisoft thing from this week, because good God. So let me look at the chat real quick. incorrectly says libertarian, I think, is the name of the French paper. I have it written here somewhere. Liberation, I believe it is. Anyway, not that that's terribly important, but let's see. Have I heard about Postal Redux coming to the Nintendo Switch? I have, yeah. Yes. Yes, I have. You're on my monitor again, you son of a bitch. Hang on a second. Really don't like flies. Really don't like them. I mean, at least it's not a bumblebee. Those things freak me out. What was I talking about? Oh, so yeah, other thing from Ubisoft. Let's talk about Assassin's Creed. So there's a lot of Assassin's Creed. There's like a dozen main games and then about an equal number of spin-offs. There have been a bunch of them over the last 15 years or so. What order do I want to tell you this story in? Okay, so earlier this week, they've got a new Assassin's Creed game coming out, Valhalla. And one of the promotional things that Ubisoft's Twitter did was the Hidden Blade returns, the wrist blade things, and they had a montage of all the main games in the series, and all the characters who use the Hidden Blade. None of the female assassins were featured in this montage. Now, keep in mind, again, the broader context of both Ubisoft and the time in which we live. Ubisoft has long been criticized for being resistant to having women in its game, for lying about the reasons it sometimes doesn't have women in its game. For example, we all remember back in 2014 or so with Assassin's Creed Unity, where they're like, women are so hard to animate, that would just double the work. Which it would not. That was a lie. They just don't want to put women in it. We've also learned through other reporting over this summer that several games, including Assassin's Creed Odyssey, was originally intended to have a single main character, and that being Cassandra. But the powers that be at Ubisoft said, no, we're not fronting a game with a woman. Nope. Make sure that you can at least choose her brother or something. And so now Assassin's Creed Odyssey, you can choose as Cassandra or her brother Alexio, something like that. It's originally just supposed to be Cassandra, but they said, Remember the first time they did two playable characters in an Assassin's Creed game, one male, one female? That was the Fry siblings in Assassin's Creed Syndicate, I believe. If you've played that game, you might notice that there are more missions that require the male sibling than the female sibling. Also, you might notice the box art. See where Evie is on the box art? That was intentional. Shoving her off to the side like that and frontlining her brother, that's intentional. And it's something Ubisoft has been routinely criticized for. So, keeping all that in mind, Ubisoft released a video documenting the history of the Hidden Blade throughout the series, and they did not include any of the female assassins. None of them. Are there any female assassins featured in the series? Yes, there are. However, it is interesting to point out that the games that star a female assassin are the spin-off games, like Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation. That starred, what's her name? Aveline de French, god damn it. Aveline. She starred in a game all her own. It's not a mainline game, and originally it came out only on the Vita. It was later ported to consoles, but so if you're just doing, so you could say, oh, we're only doing the main games, and Liberation wasn't a main game. Okay, which is why we didn't have Assassin's Creed Chronicles, I think, China, the 2D side-scrolly ones. That had a Xiao Jun was a female-fronted lead for that game. She's not in there, but again, side story again. Also, 2D side-scroller. There are women in the main games, but only as an option. In Syndicate, you play as Evie or her brother. In Origin, is it Origins? In Origins, you play a dude, but you do get to play as his wife in a couple of missions. In Odyssey, you can choose between Cassandra or her brother. That was supposed to be just Cassandra. And in the upcoming Valhalla, the main character can be either male or female, and you can switch at any time throughout the game. So if you change your mind in the middle of the game, you can switch. So that's neat. So those are things worth noting as well. Women do not front mainline games, and if women are in the mainline games, it's only as an option. So those are worthy criticisms in and of themselves. Nevertheless, regardless of how you want to frame how the original video came out, you could say, oh, well, they were only looking at mainline games, so of course Aveline and Xiaojun weren't in there. Okay. But Syndicate, Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla were. And you chose to show the male assassin, not the female assassin. Ubisoft, of course, apologized. Oh, it was a mistake. Here's a new video with some of these characters edited in. But again, this is a constant thing with you, Ubisoft. It is impossible for anyone to screw up the same thing repeatedly. You're doing this on purpose. These are such easy problems not to have, too. I mean, it would be so easy to not have these problems, Ubisoft. Are you just any attention is good attention? Did you do it on purpose, knowing that we'd call you on it and you'd get more eyeballs that way? It's pretty crap. Um, Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation. Yeah, it's because Aveline was the had a female in the box art. Yeah, it's because she was the star of that game. Um, Main series is 1 through 3, Black Flag, Origins, Odyssey, also Valhalla, but it also includes Brotherhood, Syndicate, and Unity. Might be missing some. I'd have to look it up, but good night, Colin. Chaos says, not necessarily. Stupid people can screw up the same thing all the time. Right, but then fire them for being stupid or incompetent or constantly screwing up the same thing in the same way repeatedly all the time. I I can't see this kind of stuff being anything but deliberate on Ubisoft's part. Ubisoft, just from an upper management perspective, genuinely seems to have a real issue with women. They don't like women. They don't want them in their games because they keep fighting against it and keep deliberately erasing them from existence. Even the ones that do end up in some of the games. Stupid people tend to fail upwards. Yeah, oh, this person is terrible at their job. Let's promote them out of it. No, fire them. Don't fail up. Fail away. Uh, I well, hopefully, I mean, I would love to next week if I talk about Ubisoft be like all of the upper management is gone and the employees took over the company. But if that doesn't happen, which it's probably not, I would like a week, 1 week Ubisoft, just a week where you don't do something explicitly terrible or we don't find out about yet another explicitly terrible thing that you did knowingly. Please. Do it for me, random dude in California. So the Emmys were last week. Dark Crystal won an Emmy for Creative Arts, the Creative Arts Emmy for Outstanding Children's Program. I done see Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance on Netflix a year and a half ago, whenever it came out. I done thought it were good. I enjoyed it quite a bit. One of those rare shows that actually kind of got better as it went along. My enjoyment curve actually started not low, but I was like, it's pretty good. And then it just got better and better and better and better. And then by like episode 8 out of 10, it just kind of tapered off a little bit, but still, really good show. I really liked it. And I was like, man, I hope they do more of this because while the main story resolves, there's definitely room for more. I'd like to see where it goes from here. So, it won an Emmy. That's good, right? It's critically acclaimed. Everyone seems to love it. So it wins an Emmy last week, and then Netflix announced that it's canceled. Literally that night. Several hours later, Netflix says, yeah, we're not renewing this for season 2. It's interesting, Netflix. It's been like a year and a half. Were you just kind of milking it until you got an Emmy and then canceled it? I don't know if that would. I don't know if that makes any sense or not. But it's kind of weird that you canceled it the same evening that it got an Emmy. I mean, I can reasonably guess why you didn't renew it because it's a puppet show. It's extraordinarily expensive and it takes a long damn time to make. I get that, but I don't know, guys. Maybe wait a week? You know? Like, congratulations on the Emmy! We're not renewing you. Wow. Just. I don't know. There's no good time to break that news, I suppose, but gee whiz. Also, it's really oh, and COVID? Yeah, sure. But you can always wait until it's safe to resume production. But yeah, again, expensive show takes a lot of time. It's a bunch of people working together in enclosed spaces. You know, you have 6 people operating 4 puppets standing right next to each other. Yeah, not safe to do that right now. I get that, but oh well. Maybe another network will pick it up. Hey, Disney, you want to do it? I recommend Disney because I have Disney Plus. I don't want Hulu to do it because I don't have Hulu and I hate Hulu because their video player is garbage and I don't want to deal with it. It's very selfish, you see. I just want to see more. So, not enough people watched it or binged it. I We don't know. Netflix doesn't release numbers, so we don't know what the ratings are. Netflix doesn't have to talk about anything, so we're not privy. We can guess, we can make reasonable guesses, but yeah. But it's an interesting thing, right? It's like, oh well, if a show doesn't bring in new subscribers, then it's worthless. That's the wrong way to look at it, because you have to remember that there are a finite amount of people on Earth. At some point you are going to run out. It will be physically impossible to get new subscribers. So one of the things you also would have to look at, I would think, a person who knows nothing, is keeping the subscribers you have. You know, even if it is true, and who the hell knows that and how would you even measure that metric? Uh, Dark Crystal brought in new subscribers. Wouldn't really expect it to. Dark Crystal has always been kind of a cult thing. But, I mean, another way to look at it is it a good show that people can watch? And it's like, should I cancel Netflix? I haven't watched Age of the Dark Crystal. You know? Oh well, at least they don't run commercials. Lyrically, C says, could it be animated like Castlevania? It could, but that would kind of lose a lot of what makes the show so damn charming. Jared doesn't want to support Disney though. Okay. Matthew also says, third question is, did people watch it? Sure, but also it doesn't matter because again, there's no ads, so it genuinely does not matter. It's a subscription service. All that matters is people are paying for the service. It really doesn't matter if anyone's watching anything or not. Although, of course, if they're not watching anything, they're probably not going to they're less likely to keep the subscription. But again, there was probably metrics telling them that it didn't pull people in. Nobody really seemed to care about it. Maybe that's true, but again, we don't know because they don't share those numbers. It could just be it was watched pretty well. People really did like it, but it's an expensive show and it takes forever to make, and they didn't want to pay for it. For the amount of money and time they would spend on season 2, they could do 5 other shows, and they may see that as more profitable. We just don't know. End of the day, Dark Crystal was good, and it's a shame we're not going to see any more, at least for now, and at least on Netflix. So, all right, let's talk about Microsoft, because Microsoft's selling 2 new consoles this fall, and I continue to be fascinated by Microsoft's strategy for convincing people to buy its new consoles, its new super expensive consoles. One's $300, one's $500. So, Microsoft this week advertised a new feature, the share button on the controller. With this new feature, you can let me oops, that's not it. Let me use my PlayStation 4 controller to help demonstrate this new feature that Microsoft has come up with to help sell its consoles. All right, the Xbox controller, the new controller, is going to have a share button on it. Kind of like this share button here that's been on the PS4 controller since 2013. Okay, now here's how it works. If you press the share button, then whatever image is on the screen, it will take a screenshot of. Very similar, exactly like the share button on the PS4 controller does. So if you press it, it will take a screenshot of whatever's on the screen. But here is the cool part. If you hold down the button, just like you do on the PlayStation 4 controller, it will take video of the last some time of gameplay. This is a great new feature that I bet Xbox gamers are really excited to have, this new feature. I don't know where Microsoft comes up with this stuff. That new feature is amazing. That is some forward-thinking shit right there, Microsoft. I don't know where you came up with that amazingly new idea. Now, to be perfectly fair, Microsoft has a phone app that allows you to share the stuff the screenshots and the videos you captured with the new share button using your phone. So you don't need to send it from the Xbox dashboard. You can use an app on your phone. Cool. I mean, that's new. I mean, it's not like I don't expect Microsoft to market it. I mean, it's new to Xbox, but I don't know. It really the commercial I saw really came off as we've invented this new thing that no one's ever done before. I'm like, oh come on! Sony users have been doing that since from the beginning. The share option is not new. The option is new on the button on the controller. Oh, okay. So there's some confusion in the chat. I did not explain this very well. What's new is not the functionality itself, it's the button on the controller. They had the bright idea to put a button on the controller for that functionality. Kind of like this one right here. Right here, like this one that's been on there since 2013 when the PlayStation 4 came out. That's what's new. No, the functionality isn't new. It's the button. Sorry for not being clear on that, but still, the commercial comes off as this revolutionary new thing. Who would have ever thought a button on a controller could do this? I'm like, good God, guys. I mean, I'm mostly poking fun at him because I think it's funny, but they had another commercial which I thought was kind of funny. They had another trailer. Let me see what it's called real quick. Nope, that's not it. Here we go. Xbox Series X. Power your pre-order. Pre-order begin. Now here, that's the name of the video. Here's the actual text. Pre-order begins for the Xbox Series X, the world's most powerful console, with 12 teraflops of power and all kinds of crap and FPS and 4K and terabytes of SSD. All games will look better on the Xbox Series X, available on November 10th. And okay, blah 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 blah. So they're telling you the whole commercial is saying you got to pre-order games for this Xbox. And what games do they show off? Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Cyberpunk 2077. not only are these games that you don't need an Xbox Series X or S to play, you can play them just fine on your Xbox One. Um, you don't even need a Microsoft console to play. These are multi-platform titles. You can play these on the PS4. I, I, I mean, it just. I know Halo Infinite is got delayed until next year, but pre-order games for our new console that you really don't need to play these games because they're available literally everywhere else except the Switch. Oh yeah, Switch has one too. That was 2017 though. But I mean, I don't recall Nintendo having a dedicated video. Look how you can share shit with the Switch. It's this amazing new thing. We've got a button on the controller to do this. I mean, when they were showing off the Joy-Cons, they did mention there was a share button, but there wasn't a dedicated video to the controller's share button. Um, Again, Microsoft is not in the wrong here. I just find it a this is all their advertising. They have nothing to sell me on the Xbox Series X or S because I there are again last time I checked, unless something came out in the last week that I missed, there is literally not this is not hyperbole, this is not exaggeration. There are literally zero games coming out in the Xbox Series X launch window that you actually need the Xbox Series X or S to play. Every game available on Xbox Series X from December 10th, or I'm sorry, November 10th to December 31st, far as I'm aware, is available on something else. Again, they apparently will somehow run a little bit better or look a little bit better on the Series X, and that's great. And if that's enough for you, that's wonderful. But this is a specific spot specifically for Xbox Series X. You better pre-order a game for the Xbox Series X. Oh, these games that I already have pre-ordered for, the last generation console from the other company? Are you sure you don't want to use different games? I mean, at least one that's not also available on the PlayStation. Are there any? Well, well, Microsoft may have hit on the solution for that. Because Microsoft just purchased Zenimax for $7.5 billion. Zenimax is the parent company of Bethesda, which is Elder Scrolls and Fallout, id, Doom, Wolfenstein, um, Arcs, God, the hell is Arcs? Crap, I should have written all these down. The ones who did Prey, um, the Medium. You know, jumping. That's not till next year, I don't believe. But I actually Arcane. Thank you. I saw a new trailer for the Medium, and no gameplay. But I was really intrigued by this NPC child with a mask, and looks like something bit off her arm. I'm still annoyed that they're not really showing any gameplay, but I have to admit I was intrigued by that NPC. So, kudos. Um, yeah, there's like under the ZeniMax banner, there's 6 studios, something like that. So that is a lot of really well-known franchises that Microsoft has locked down there. So they have a gameplay 8. Okay, 8. They have a gameplay trailer for the Medium gameplay trailer before this one came out. If it's the one that was in the Microsoft presentation back in July. There was some gameplay in it. Most of it just the character kind of walking around, though. Then again, it does appear like it's going to be kind of a slow-paced, slow-burning horror game, which are kind of hard to cut an interesting trailer for because a lot of it is walking around. Um, for the medium, and one of it has commentary. Oh, okay, I'll have to check that out because I did not see that. Um, how was it talking about? Oh, the Zenimax. So, does that mean that Elder Scrolls, Fallout, Doom, Wolfenstein, Prey, uh, if they make any more, was it Evil Within? I think that was one of theirs too. Um, does that mean they will all be exclusive to Microsoft consoles? Probably. I mean, they spent $7.5 billion. Hard to imagine that they would share these with Sony, unless they've got some amazing licensing deal that works to their benefit. Or another thing I could imagine is if Game Pass just does really, really, really well, then it's more. Then they don't have to worry so much about it being exclusive to the Xbox consoles. The branding of Xbox Game Pass might offset the loss of people buying it on other consoles. Possible? I don't know. Matthew says context why Microsoft bought them is Sony was going to third parties offering them money not to release their games on Xbox, not be exclusive to PS5, just not on Xbox. Wait, Sony was going to third parties offering money to not release games on Xbox, but not their console? So, hey Arcane, here's money. Go ahead and release it on the... You don't even have to release it for our console. Release it on the Switch or something, just not Microsoft. That's not believable. Not saying it's untrue, but I don't believe that. That doesn't seem like a worthwhile expenditure to me. It's certainly very weird. Hmm. So, that potentially bums me out because I like Bethesda's terrible at making games. Its games are terrible because it can't release a game that runs correctly to save its life. So I don't feel Bethesda's a huge loss. Um, but id Software makes me sad because I really like the Doom games. And I'll be sad if they're exclusive to the Xbox consoles because then I won't be able to play them. I mean, they'll still be available on PC, but I don't want to play them on PC. I mean, I can. I mean, they'd probably be compatible with the controller, and if not, I can probably rig it up to get it to work on a controller, but I really don't want to do that. So, this story, it's interesting because you hear me week after week giving, throwing shade at Microsoft for not having any games that you need to buy an Xbox Series X or S for, and then they buy a parent company that has 8 different subsidiaries that make a bunch of great games, um, and then I say, oh well, that's bastard fly. Um, that sucks because I'm probably not going to have an Xbox, so I probably won't get to play them. Sony was paying money to be. Oh! I'm sorry. So what you meant was the deal was, here's money, make games for everyone but Microsoft. So here's money. Game doesn't need to be exclusive to us. Still needs to be on the Sony console, but you can release it on the Switch and the Nokia N-Gage and the WonderSwan if you're feeling frisky. Okay, that makes more sense. Um, so Microsoft comes in there and says, "Well, we're buying it all." Or maybe it was like three-dimensional chess that Sony was trying to get to goad Microsoft into spending billions of dollars. Who the hell knows? Um, Chaos says, well, Knack wasn't a worthwhile expenditure, but they made it anyway. They made two of those. uh, well, I mean, at least it's not EA that bought uh, Zenimax. Because then you know that it's like, oh, well, we can kiss id Software and Arcane and some of the others goodbye. But I mean, owned by Microsoft, it's very less likely that the companies will be, you know, ground into the dirt and closed. So, I mean, that's something. Matthew points out that 7 billion's not a whole hell of a lot. Um, Depends on how you split the company up, and I don't know. For example, I'm a better with the Sony structure. Sony as an entire corporation has large amount of money, but Sony Pictures and the Sony gaming business and Sony some of the appliance shit are different entities, even though they are all the same. It's kind of like Nintendo America and Nintendo Japan are kind of two different entities, even though they're both Nintendo. I'm not actually sure how Microsoft separates that out, so I don't know if that's all one big pool of money or not. But yeah, I mean, 7.5 billion is even if it's a bad investment and doesn't work for them, that's not going to kill Microsoft or anything. So. Da, 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 da. Kaganeko-sama, hello. Uh, Buying Warner Brothers or Zenimax? We also learned this week that both consoles, both the Sony and Microsoft consoles, will have external storage solutions because, you know, the Series X and the PS5 only have a terabyte. Series X and PS5 is like 800 and some gigs of internal storage. So if you have one of the let me the Xbox Series S, which doesn't have the disk drive, only has 500 gigs. The disk driveless PS5 only has 825 gigs or something like that. You're probably going to, unless you're buying a console and only going to have like 3 games throughout its life, you're going to run out of space there at some point. So unless you want to constantly delete and re-download stuff, you're probably going to want some type of external storage solution. Well, these fancy new consoles not only are using SSD storage, so solid state instead of the spinny disk, it's faster, but also a new standard, so it's expensive. And Microsoft is first out of the gate, as it has been, revealing the price for its first 1 terabyte external storage solution. And it's what the current market value of a 1 terabyte SSD of that standard pretty much goes for. It's $220. Imagine you're a parent and you don't know about any of this stuff. And you're like, okay, I'm going to buy the $300 Xbox, the Series S. It's got half the storage space. It doesn't do, the super high resolutions, but it's $200 cheaper. So I'll just get that and the 1 terabyte expansion, and it'll be good. Whoa! Wait a minute! Wait! The memory expansion is over half the price of the console. Holy shit! So so I'm spending for the Xbox Series X, I'm sorry, the Xbox Series S with the memory expansion is more expensive than the Xbox Series X, and it doesn't do the super high resolution stuff. I mean, yeah, I got an extra half a terabyte of memory, but man, at that point, maybe I should get the more expensive one. Or is that Microsoft's plan all along? And again, to be fair, a 1 terabyte SSD memory of whatever that particular standard is, that's what it costs on the market right now. So I'm not accusing Microsoft of like price gouging. It's not, but it's certainly not cutting anyone any breaks because the goddamn external storage is $220. I I imagine there's. I do not envy like Target or Walmart employees trying to explain why this memory is so goddamn expensive. Go away, fly. It's like, yes, yes, sir. The memory expansion is $220 over half the price of the console itself. He's like, but wait a minute, how much damn memory is it? 500 terabytes or something? It's like, no, it's not. It's 1 terabyte. It's like, oh, you see this? This is a 1 terabyte hard drive. It costs $50. Why is it? It's like, well, that's not SSD. Okay, fine. Here's a 1 terabyte SSD. This is only $100 or $120, somewhere in that range. What the hell? It's like, well, it's a different standard. I don't care what the standard is. Oh man, retail is gonna have headaches. I don't envy them. That's not gonna be fun. Man, that that. Ooh boy. Well, hopefully the storage space that's in all of these consoles, we won't run out of it until the price of these storage solutions drop. Hopefully, it drops quickly, but it's a new standard, so probably not going to drop that quickly, that fast. So, uh, now to be fair, you can buy a different, cheaper storage solution. You just can't play Xbox Series X games off of it. You're gonna have to reorganize the fridge, so to speak. So you don't have to buy the $220 memory expansion. But if you don't, you're gonna have to, for your Xbox Series X games, you're gonna have to be swapping games back and forth. That may be for $220. That may be an acceptable trade-off for you until the price of these things drop. But man alive. Um, and to be clear, whatever Sony's not announced pricing for their storage solution or any storage solutions that they approve of or say qualifies, or they mentioned months back. They said, yeah, there will be off the shelf, but wait till we test it and we'll tell you which ones work. They're unless Sony is feeling frisky, they're going to be around about the same price. So, go away, little bastard! Hate flies. I will hunt you down and kill you. Did I see that the sales on the Xbox One X increased, probably due to people confusing it with Series X? I did not, but that would not surprise me. But NVMe, yeah, thank you, Matthew. That's the storage standard that I'm talking about. Um, you know how all the pre-orders are botched for everybody? All the Xboxes and all the PlayStations you can't get pre-orders for. You know what didn't run out of pre-orders? You know what you can easily get pre-orders for, at least as of this afternoon? The Series X and S storage expansion. Oh, those pre-orders haven't run out. I checked Microsoft Store and Amazon, I think. Um, yeah, they're not out of pre-orders for those. So, uh, Matthew says use a USB drive for cold storage of games. Right? I think I mentioned that a bit ago. You can use another cheaper storage solution. You're just going to have to move games back onto your main storage to play them, which again you may want to do because man, $220. Whew, ooh boy, that is a lot. Lyrically says I don't think it'll drop at all. The NVMe stuff probably going to be a while before it does. In all honesty, I would be surprised if it drops much, if at all, this year. So yeah. Uh, Chaos says, "Am I the only one who's okay with some loading in games?" I don't know. It depends on how old you are. I'm old enough to. I started with cartridge games, which essentially had no loading time, so I hate loading times. Because when I want to, it's actually to me what's worse than loading times is install times. Uh, you'll see this. Okay, so you're my age. All right, yeah. Then yeah, you're one of the few people that doesn't seem to mind loading times. I imagine you mean within reason. Um, I did a video on Rise of the Tomb Raider. I'm currently editing that. So look for that in the next couple of weeks. Um, it's kind of like a debut review where I say I'm gonna play Tomb Raider, and then I play it in like the first couple hours, and then I talk about it. Right. Well, so like with my debut reviews, I say I'm going to watch the first episode of the show, and then title card 23 minutes later, and I'm back on talking about it. For the Tomb Raider one, I say I'm going to play Tomb Raider. Title card 4 hours later, and I come back on. It's like, yeah, my game just finished installing. No, I didn't download it off the PlayStation Store. It's installing off the disc. It took 4 damn hours. That's what I hate. See, back in my day when I was a chillin', hell, even when I was older than a chillin', when I was a teenager, um, I took the cartridge out of the box. I actually, hang on. See, this is what we kids did when we were kids. We said, "Ooh, I got a new video game." Da 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 da, and I plug it in and I switch it on and I play Zelda. I didn't plug it in, switch it on, and then go shopping or take a nap for 4 hours while the damn thing installed. No, I got to play it right away because it's on a cartridge and there's no loading times. And I bet all of you are going, why the hell does he have Ocarina of Time sitting right next to him? Because I have a video that I'm thinking about doing and I just haven't got around to it, but I did go so far as to get Zelda out because I need footage from it, but that means I have to do some fancy things to hook up my N64 so that I can record footage off of it, which is a pain in the ass, and I'm busy with other stuff and I haven't bothered yet, so, you know. But, at least the game is out so that when I get around to doing that, I don't have to go get it out of my N64 drawer. So, uh, yeah, it'd be kind of terrible if I boot up Ocarina of Time and the battery has died and my save is gone. No, my Hylian Loach! No, it's lost forever. Uh, you know, is it Ocarina of Time? I think it's actually Majora's Mask has a soft lock glitch in it. Something to do with a cannon room. Like if you do something, you will get permanently stuck somewhere. Like if you do events in the game in a particular order, you'll be stuck in this room and you can't leave. That's the kind of thing that would get fixed via patch today. But yeah, back in the 90s, we didn't have patches. That's why you QA'd your games. You made sure they worked before you release them, because you can't patch crap like that. Now, luckily, that would the repo steps are something that most people would never do to trigger that soft lock. But yeah, those were the days. Oh, is it Twilight Princess? Okay, it is one of the Zelda ones. It has something to do with a room with a cannon in it. The Skyward Sword has a similar problem, does it? Huh? How about that? So, that's true, Matthew. Matthew said, a point of order, Mr. Eisen. They did release a patch in the form of a different version of the game. That's true. What they would have to do is do a new run of video games, a version 1.0 or 1.1 or version 2 or something like that, and that, the new production run of the games would have fixes in them. But it's not like you could just go out and buy a new one and transfer your save. Well, actually, N64 had the memory saving packs. So actually, you could go to Blockbuster, which was a video and video game rental store. You could rent Ocarina of Time once they stocked the new versions, and just swap yours for the one from the store. If you were a jerk. Ocarina of Time and 64 has a few revisions. Yeah. Oh, hi, Twisted. Yeah, I think one of them is isn't like Ganon coughing up blood. The blood was removed, or the color was changed, or something like that in one of the further editions of that game. As you can probably tell by the gold box and gold cartridge, I have the first edition of Ocarina of Time. So, not to brag or anything, but yeah, I have the gold cartridge, Ocarina of Time, and the gold box. And yes, I caught the Hylian Loach. So, the blood turned green and the symbol on the mirror shield changed. So, I think that's it for tonight. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Come back tomorrow, noon Pacific Standard Time. It's video game stream time. Tomorrow I'll be playing Neo Cab, which is the spiritual successor to Crazy Taxi, I'm sure. That is a joke. I believe it's more of a text adventure where you're driving a cab and you meet interesting fares, and you try to solve a murder mystery or a disappearance while driving your cab or something like that. Gather clues by picking up fares. Hey, have you seen this person? I think it's that kind of thing. Sounds interesting. So we'll play that tomorrow, noon Pacific Standard Time, if you are so inclined. And that's it for tonight. So take care, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you have a nice night. Hope to see you tomorrow for some game streamy fun. Take care. Good night. Bye-bye.